No! No, no!
Here I was, sitting alone in my apartment one day, and all of a sudden, a deep voice appeared in my mind. Without any thoughts, those words came right up from my mouth.
Come with me if you want to live.
Only by the sudden appearance of T-800, I started repeating this line over and over again on my Discord channel, making my friends want to ignore me. I realized that I need to satisfy my hunger for Terminator. I remember the most recent FPS game of this franchise, Terminator Resistance. Developed by Theon, the team behind the infamous Rambo 2 video game, is this time with a faithful adaptation to Terminator franchise, presenting the events before the movies. Well, to be frank, explains the previous events and the setting before the first two movies.
Now go right!
First of all, Terminator Resistance game revives of Metro series in terms of both semi-open FPS gameplay that is blended with resource gathering, crafting and of course stealth. Wait, do I need to explain the setting of Terminator? Hope you watched Terminator series, at least the first two movies played by the Emperor of the Mankind, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Long story short, and without any spoilers, Skynet rebels against humanity, thinking that mankind would exterminate all robots, without thinking that we need them to watch e-girls, Netflix and spend our hard-earned money to push the depression deeper, pretending everything is fine. So Skynet mass produces T-800 units, humanoid robots to exterminate all life, and sends Terminators back in time to destroy the Resistance before it is even formed by John Connor, creating a time paradox. So by Terminator Resistance we play as Jacob Rivers, a private of Pacific Division of the Resistance that luckily survives a massive attack of T-800 units trying to hide away from the annihilation line of Skynet. As Jacob Rivers hides from T-800s and Skynet's units, we manage to join a group of survivors, forming bonds with them, doing side missions and stuff while trying to reach the South Division. During this 30-year war against Skynet, an actual human-looking Terminator has been seen, and this also causes disturb among the Resistance, as they can look human, act like human, and infiltrate without any effort.
Jacob Rivers, marked for termination.
As Jacob Rivers is actually a private of Pacific Division, we start as level 1 and by doing each main and side missions, destroying Skynet units and even T-800s at some point, we receive experience points, and gaining experience points mean that we also level up, and by level up we gain skill points to improve Jacob's passive attributes. These attributes start from stealth, hacking, lockpicking, toughness and explosives to backpack and even weaponsmith that helps you to tackle the challenges of Terminator Resistance during further into the story. Since I played on hard difficulty, I focused on toughness and lockpick as first, and then maxed out the weaponsmith to access the violet plasma weapons of T-800s, making Jacob Rivers start first as a rogue private and then to savior of mankind and destroyer of Terminators. Or rather, Terminator? That doesn't sound charming at all.
30 years ago, the machines decided to wipe out all of humanity because they feared that we were a threat to their existence. Today, we make their fear come true.
Just like by Metro 2033, we find ourselves in a post-apocalyptic world covered with lots of resources that we can craft explosives, ammunition and even first aid with. Terminator Resistance doesn't force you to collect these resources, but you mostly gather up all the stuff that you occasionally come across. This resource gathering or crafting never felt like a chore, as the main focus of the game is mostly stealth or guerrilla style attacks, since you cannot mostly run and gun through this game. You can take out the weakest spider walkers or sometimes even gun turrets or flying drones with guerrilla style attacking, covering and then flanking, but when T-800s appear, boy, that's when the fun starts. If you never leveled up your stealth attributes and trusted your gaming skills just like I did, boy, that's where the fun begins, alright. They have high detection, high damage, high health, and they can outflank you merely in seconds. You might damage them with pipe bombs, assault rifle bullets and heal yourself with first aids, but will you survive the next encounter? That's what made Terminator Resistance exciting and sometimes thrilling, sometimes frustrating for me. All your gathered resources will be gone and you need to pick them up once again from your load save file if you die, and no one can guarantee your safety when that T-800 standing in the corner spots you again and kills you with its plasma rifle or even with its bare steel hands. Terminator Resistance has also this survival thriller taste by some levels that wants you to use stealth to reach your objective. When you can find yourself in a map, you can either head to your main mission or accomplish your side objectives first. These side objectives are mostly to improve your relationship with side characters that can lead you to good ending by the late game. With each side quest done, they trust you more and they open themselves to you, talk to you about their background story and their journey. It's not a mandatory thing to do these quests, but since Terminator Resistance took only around 8 hours to beat with 90% of achievements, I advise you to do these. Another side content that is more challenging and that helps Rivers to improve a lot is Skynet bases. You can either go guns blazing, run and gun, or hack your way through these Skynet bases, sneak past the 800s to reach the main core and hack it to disable Skynet activity within that area. These additional bases have lots of plasma weapons or ammunition, resources and also experience points for you to receive that also makes you feel like a Resistance soldier also. Just as I mentioned before, whole Terminator Resistance experience has this Metro franchise feeling that I always had. Main missions mostly take around 40 minutes to do, then we find ourselves within a Resistance camp for additional dialogues, story cutscenes that shows how Skynet is trying to exterminate the humanity, the usual kind. Most of the fan service with movies show themselves by the end game, and I'm sure those moments will definitely please you, especially when you fight against the main Skynet force, while Terminator theme plays in background, gives you the correct feeling and chills.
Suppressive fire! The first Terminator just went through!
And then the aspects that I didn't like about Terminator Resistance are mostly the dialogues and the voices of characters. These voice line recordings felt mostly off, or rather amateur by some way, as if they were recorded not in a studio but within their own office or something like that. I mostly focused on finishing the story and the events that happened within the game, but couldn't form any relationship or like any characters due to this problem. So don't expect any character that would leave a mark. On the other hand, it sometimes felt like a PlayStation 3 era game in terms of graphical levels, but I tend to ignore these things and mostly focus on overall atmosphere and art direction rather than just plain graphics. Terminator Resistance delivers the feeling of Judgment Day or the Terminator, especially during the night missions, and that's what the most important thing is.
Dismissed. Close the door behind you.
Terminator Resistance is definitely a legit, solid FPS with solid, faithful elements to the original series. Theon is definitely improved and adapted after developing Rambo the video game, learning from their past mistakes to grow better. After playing Terminator Resistance, I just couldn't hold myself but to hype for upcoming RoboCop game that Theon also develops, and I'm sure it will be even better than Terminator Resistance overall. Even if you're a fan of series or not, Terminator Resistance has the elements that will please you if you want to play a FPS experience that relies on stealth and also on crafting. If you're a fan of series or interested in Terminator in general, I advise you to give it a chance. You might end up binge watching the whole movie series or speaking like the 800 that our Lord and Savior Arnold played. As I said before, it take around 8 hours for me to complete the whole missions and I only missed one achievement to accomplish, so it is overall quite acceptable for a FPS title. It doesn't feel short but leaves you satisfied.
I'll be back.